There are moments in a tennis player's life that define them, not just as athletes, but as human beings. For Maria Sakkari, the fiery Greek star known for her relentless energy and power on the court, that defining moment came when the weight of expectation nearly crushed her spirit. In a shocking and emotional confession, Sakkari revealed something fans never expected to hear. I wanted to quit. Yes, quit tennis entirely. For a player ranked among the best in the world with one of the most feared serves on the WTA Tour, the thought of walking away seems unthinkable. But behind the smiles, the victories, and the fitness photos, Sakkari was silently battling an inner storm. One that nearly took her love for the sport away forever. Today, we're diving deep into the story behind her words, the pressure she faced, and how close she really came to leaving it all behind. Before we unpack this emotional journey, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Give this video a thumbs up and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update from the world of tennis. We bring you the stories beyond the scoreboard, the drama, the triumphs, and the struggles the cameras often miss. Maria Sakkari isn't just another name on the WTA rankings list. She's been a consistent top 10 contender, a semi-finalist at both the French Open and US Open, and a fan favorite for her fierce fighting spirit. But during a candid interview after a recent tournament, Sakkari admitted that just months ago, she was on the verge of giving it all up. There was a point where I didn't want to play tennis anymore. I couldn't take the pressure, the constant criticism, the feeling that no matter what I did, it wasn't enough. Those words sent shockwaves through the tennis community. For many, Sakkari represented mental toughness. Her fitness levels were unmatched. Her fighting spirit was inspirational, and she seemed to thrive under pressure. But, as her confession revealed, the truth was far more complex. The pressure cooker of modern tennis. To understand Sakkari's breaking point, we have to step inside the intense world of professional tennis. Unlike team sports, tennis players are alone out there. No teammates to share the burden, no halftime to regroup. Every point, every mistake, every loss is theirs alone. Sakkari's career was filled with near misses. Those heartbreaking semifinals, where victory slipped away by a point or two. For example, 2021 French Open semifinal versus Barbara Krejcikova. Sakkari had match points but fell in a dramatic 9-73 third set. 2021 US Open semifinal versus Emma Raducanu. A straight sets loss where she admitted she froze on the big stage. For fans, these were moments of so close yet so far. But for Sakkari, each loss chipped away at her confidence. The more she tried to push through, the heavier the mental toll became. Social media and public criticism. In the age of social media, every athlete lives under a microscope, and Sakkari has been brutally honest about how online negativity has affected her. She's received everything from constructive criticism to outright hateful comments, messages questioning her abilities, mocking her losses, and even targeting her personal life. People think we don't read what they say, but we do. And sometimes it stays with you longer than it should. It's a reminder that even the toughest-looking athletes are human. The emotional armor they wear on court often hides a vulnerability that few get to see. Part 4, the breaking point. So, when did Sakkari truly feel she might walk away? It happened after a string of disappointing results in early 2023. She struggled to find consistency, crashing out in early rounds of tournaments where she was a top seed. Each loss magnified the doubts already swirling in her head. Her ranking, once stable in the top 5, began to slip. The Greek press questioned her mental strength. International analysts speculated whether she had already peaked. I remember waking up one day and thinking, why am I doing this? I'm not happy. I'm exhausted. I just want to stop. Those words closest to her, family, coaches, and her tight-knit support team were alarmed. For someone as dedicated as Sakkari, even entertaining the thought of quitting was a sign that something had to change. And it changed. It did. Instead of walking away, Sakkari sought help. She began working more closely with sports psychologists, took short breaks from competition, and redefined her goals. I realized I was playing for everyone else's expectations, but not my own. This shift in mindset was key. Sakkari stopped obsessing over rankings and points, focusing instead on rediscovering her love for the game. She worked on letting go of perfectionism, understanding that even the greatest players lose and that failure doesn't define her career. Her return to form wasn't instant, but when she lifted a title again later that season, the relief and joy on her face told the whole story. Part 6, Expert Opinions and Player Support. Tennis legends and analysts have praised Sakkari for speaking openly about mental health, a topic that is still stigmatized in sports. Former world number 1 Chris Ever commented, "It takes incredible courage to admit vulnerability in a sport that demands constant strength." Maria's honesty will inspire younger players to prioritize their well-being. Other players including EGA Viate and Coco Gauff expressed public support, with Gauff tweeting respect to Maria for being so real. "We all go through it." The bigger picture. Mental health in tennis. Sakkari's confession adds to a growing list of tennis stars who've spoken openly about the mental demands of the sport. Naomi Osaka, Ashley Barty, and even Novak Djokovic have all admitted to struggling at times. In a sport where physical training is prioritized, mental resilience is just as crucial. The pressure to travel year-round, perform at peak levels, and constantly defend ranking points creates an exhausting cycle. Could Sakkari's story be a turning point in how the WTA addresses player mental health? Possibly. Fans are now calling for longer off-seasons, better access to sports psychologists, and more awareness about burnout. What's next for Sakkari? Looking ahead, Sakkari has made it clear she's not done yet. Her new approach is about balance. She's focusing on key tournaments rather than overloading her schedule. And she's putting more emphasis on training that keeps her both physically and mentally fresh. She's even hinted that she wants to use her platform to raise awareness about athlete mental health, telling reporters, "If my story can help even one young player keep going, then speaking out was worth it." With renewed energy, she's setting her sights on the next Grand Slam season, and fans can expect a Maria Sakkari who plays not out of obligation, but out of passion. Do you think Maria Sakkari can still win a Grand Slam with this new mindset? Have we underestimated the mental side of tennis? Could more players follow her lead and speak out about their struggles? Maria Sakkari's confession, "I wanted to quit," reminds us that behind every forehand winner, every roaring celebration, and every hard-fought victory is a person dealing with. The room was silent, the kind of silence that comes just before the first serve on center court. Maria Sakkari sat in the press conference chair like she'd just played 5 grueling sets, even though this was just after a second-round loss. The defeat wasn't a surprise. The look in her eyes, though, was. She paused before speaking, eyes red, jaw clenched. "I wanted to quit tennis," she finally said, voice cracking. The air in the room seemed to vanish. Journalists lowered their cameras slightly. A few glanced at one another. They weren't used to hearing this, especially not from her. Maria Sakkari, the warrior, the fighter, the one with the fierce roar and thighs of steel. The one who'd run down every ball like her life depended on it. Quit? It didn't make sense. But Maria continued. "I've had moments in the past year where I couldn't breathe on the court. Not from physical exhaustion, from something deeper. I started asking myself if I belonged here at all. It hadn't always been like this." For a long time, Maria Sakkari was the name on everyone's lips as the next breakout star of Greek tennis. She had the power, the speed, the mental steel. Every loss was just another lesson on her road to a Grand Slam. She climbed to world number 3. Sponsors lined up. Expectations followed. And that, perhaps, was the start of the unraveling. "Do you know what it feels like," she said, looking up at the lights, "to train harder than ever, to believe you've done everything right, and still lose in the first round?" She wasn't asking for sympathy. She was stating facts. Match after match, tournament after tournament, the joy began to fade. Not because she didn't love the sport, but because she had poured her soul into it and was starting to feel empty. "I was waking up every morning thinking, why am I doing this? Not because I didn't love tennis, but because I didn't love me anymore when I played it." She looked down, collecting her thoughts. The losses weren't just losses anymore. They were personal failures. Public ones. She could hear it in the murmurs on social media, see it in the disappointment in fans' eyes. Maybe she's just not good enough. Overrated. Mentally weak. No one saw the 6 a.m. sprints. The tears in the hotel room. The nights of staring at the ceiling wondering if she'd missed her window. They only saw the scoreboard. Behind the scenes, things got darker. She considered taking a break. Then quitting altogether. I told my mom I was done, she admitted. I didn't want to play anymore. Not like this. For those who know tennis, that confession struck like a thunderclap. Her mother, Angeliki Canelapola, a former top 50 player herself, had been Maria's lifelong coach, mentor, and emotional anchor. She told me to do what was best for me, not for the rankings, not for Greece, not for the fans. Just me. That moment became a turning point. Maria stepped away. Quietly. No big announcements. She stopped checking rankings. Let go of the pressure to prove anything. And somewhere in that stillness, she found a version of herself she hadn't seen in years. I went back to why I started, she said. Not to win trophies, not to be famous. I started because I loved the feeling of hitting a clean backhand. Because I loved competition. She didn't find immediate redemption. But she found clarity. I realized, maybe the dream isn't dead. Maybe it just looks different now. The confession spread fast. Social media lit up. Fans who'd felt her struggles posted messages of support. I felt the same, Maria, one wrote. I'm not a pro athlete, but I know what it's like to doubt your worth after failure. A former pro chimed in, this is the bravest thing a player can do, be vulnerable in front of the world. And slowly, something shifted. In a sport that worships toughness, Sakkari reminded everyone that real toughness isn't just winning, it's surviving. Staying. Showing up even when you're broken inside. At her next tournament, Maria walked onto the court not as a fallen contender, but as a woman rebuilding. She didn't storm to the final. She didn't lift the trophy. But when she won her first match in weeks, she smiled, not the smile for cameras, but the real one. The smile of someone who'd made peace with herself. I'm not afraid to start over, she said. This is my journey. It's not over yet. Maria Sakkari's confession wasn't just about tennis. It was a message to anyone who's ever thought of quitting, not just a sport, but a job, a relationship, a dream. It's okay to pause. It's okay to break down. But maybe, just maybe, what you need isn't to walk away from it all, but to walk back to the beginning. To the part where you fell in love with it in the first place. And so Maria plays on. Not to prove the world wrong. Just to prove to herself that she still can. Epilogue. Months later, Maria would return to a Grand Slam quarterfinal, her head held high. Commentators spoke of a comeback, of resilience, of grit. But those closest to her knew the real victory had come much earlier, alone, in a quiet moment, when she chose not to quit. That's the kind of champion she is. And maybe that's the kind of champion we all can be.